Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Butternomics. I'm your host, Brandon Butler, founder and CEO of Butler ATL. And today, got somebody special in the building. My guy, the one and only, Mr. Randy Hazelton. Randy, how you doing today, bro?
Brandon, it is a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great.
Good, man. You over here building up everything, opening up new buildings, restaurants, all this stuff. We got some good stuff to talk about, man. You ready for this?
Yeah, man. I just trying to sell hamburgers just one at a time, brother. That's all.
You're doing a good
That's
job
all.
at it, man. Well, look, what I do with all my guests when they come on, we do something a little bit different. I know people want to kind of know who you are and what you do, but what I do is, man, I put you in Chat GPT, brother. And I said,
Okay.
ChatGPT, I want you
Gosh,
to
we're
write
here.
a bio and tell the people who Randy is. So I'm gonna read you
We
what
are here.
ChatGPT said, because I'm just saying, man. Like, and I want you to let me know, is it
You
on
know, so
point?
I have never seen my bio with ChatGPT, so I'm curious. Let's
See, this
go.
you got to do this. See, I'm,
Let's
I'm
go.
showing you something. All
Okay.
right, look.
All right.
Randy Hazelton is the owner and CEO of H&H Hospitality, an Atlanta-based company operating more than 50 restaurants across the country, including quick service and full service concepts in major airports. He got his start in 2008 as one of the original founders of Cafe Circa in Atlanta, learning entrepreneurship the hard way through bankruptcy and rebuilding. Since then, he has scaled into franchising with national brands and now develops his own franchise-ready concepts. Beyond hospitality, Randy invests in CPG, tech, and pharmaceutical ventures, serves on boards such as the Fearless Fund, and is deeply engaged in Atlanta's economic development and community growth.
That is unbelievable, brother. That is unbelievable. We are here.
We are
I had
here.
no idea. I had no idea.
You gotta put yourself in chat and
Yeah,
see what it comes back with,
yeah. I
man.
mean, that there is nothing that is wrong about that.
See, I got the $200 version, so it digs
Okay.
deep. So look, man, Randy, thanks for pulling up, man. Yeah, man. For those who don't know, man, tell people what is H&H Hospitality, brother.
So H&H Hospitality is an airport concessions company, which all that means is that we own and operate restaurants and airports. So that's
Okay.
what we do. Atlanta is home and headquarters. We have between units that we operate 100% and joint ventures, we own about 17, and then we have locations in Dallas, Texas, in Washington D.C., and in the Midwest by way of Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Okay. Now, how did you get started in this? Like, are you gonna tell me a story about how you used to work at a McDonald's a long time ago and they pissed you off? You said, "I'm gonna come back and buy all this stuff." Like, how did you get involved in this business?
Now I wasn't that smart, man. I jumped right into the restaurant business. Before that, so I came out of college and did what you're supposed to do coming out of college, go get a 9 to 5 at a corporate firm and the whole deal. Did that and I worked in corporate America for about 2 years, 2.5 years, and it just wasn't for me. I mean, it just was not something I get comfortable with. The culture felt foreign to me. I was selling products or responsible for products that I wasn't attached to, and I had to get out of it. So the first thing was figuring out what I did not want to do, which
Hmm.
was not being in corporate America. I left without a plan and was hanging out. I mean, really just hanging out in Atlanta, mid 20s. I had a little bit of money saved aside from the money I had saved from corporate America, and I was also flipping real estate, and that was going well at the time. That was like 2004, 5, 6 when the market was hot.
Yeah.
So I had stashed some money away, so I could like take some time as a mid 20 something, which was really just being outside, like hanging out. And so me and a good friend of mine spent a lot of time hanging out, frankly, like hanging out in lounges and bars and restaurants. And before we blew our whole bag, figured, you know what, we should do this ourselves. Like before we run out of money, and because we spent so much time on the consumer side, thinking that was all you needed to do it, let's open a restaurant. So we came together, pulled our money, opened our first restaurant, and that was a restaurant by the name of Cafe Circa on Edgewood Avenue that Chat GPT so
Hmm.
eloquently highlighted. So that was the first go, and that is where we learned restaurants. Like that was our first kind of introduction to what it meant to run a restaurant. We didn't study it beforehand. We didn't work at McDonald's like you said. I wish we would have, but we just jumped right in.
Now, what was it like jumping right in? Because I mean, Cafe Circuit is still there today.
Mm-hmm.
It's somewhat of a well-known spot, almost an
Mm-hmm.
institution, I would say, especially on Edgewood. Like everybody knows
Okay.
what Cafe Circuit is. Like when you think about that time, what do you remember most about those days? Like, what was that space? Was it a restaurant before? Like, just what do you remember about that?
What I remember most, stress. Stress is what I remember most, Brandon. I mean, we were young. I mean, it was a lot of fun. We were learning a lot, but it was hard. I remembered how hard restaurant operations was. I mean, it looks easy, or it looked easy to us as a guest, as a consumer, as a
Hmm.
patron going in, ordering what you want, getting it quickly. But on the other side of that is hell. And so I remember I mean, I remember it feeling like we just didn't have a handle on it, and working every day bell to bell for years to get a handle on it and to get it to perform financially, meaning like make money.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember like the scramble and the struggle to do that. That is my most vivid memory of that time.
What did that experience kind of teach you about entrepreneurship? Because there was a time in which I've owned a restaurant for a little bit, and I will
God
tell you,
bless you.
yeah,
God bless you,
let me
Brandon.
tell you, I learned my
Yeah.
lesson very quickly. Like
Yeah.
just in seeing this, seeing how the staff works, and like just dealing with the patrons. There's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff people don't see, right? So
Yeah.
like, even and that was recent for me. But like, what were some of the big entrepreneurship type lessons that you learned while you were doing that?
So the first one is, and I talk about this a lot. It's just like there's nothing new. There's almost nothing new under the sun. So anything you want to get into, take the time to like study, talk to people that have done it. Go work in the McDonald's if you
Yeah.
want to open a McDonald's or a restaurant for yourself. But take the time to do the study to better equip yourself for what's coming because it's been done before. Generally speaking,
Yeah.
minus some nuances. I mean, the fundamentals have been done. The successes can be studied, the failures can be studied. So I would say, like, take the time, do yourself a favor, and do that. Because when you do not, you will make mistakes. And in business, mistakes cost money, every single one of them. And like, if you accrue too many mistakes, you will go out of business. That's essentially what happens. And so, save yourself some time, some money, and some stress and frustration, and like, go do the homework. The second thing I would say is people are everything. We talked about this a little bit. People are everything, and being successful in business isn't about being cool, even though being cool can like get the kind of attention that'll get you, opportunity. But it really is about performing and executing. And to do that, you need a team. And the people on the team have to be equipped with the things that help enable that success. So, like, it ain't about your friends or unfortunate, or your family or the person that seems like. I mean, you need people that are one trustworthy, but also capable, have work ethic, competency, that kind of thing to kind of go get the bigger job done.
Yeah, man. It's interesting because I know I've experienced this a number of times myself in like starting businesses. When you think about it, and I don't think people really fully understand, right? Like when you build something, especially as a lot of black entrepreneurs, right? Like we're probably doing it with our own money. A lot of us don't go into these opportunities with like a bunch of funding, right? And so you're really kind of just trying to make it happen.
Yep.
And so I know what happened for me with one of my companies was, I mean, yeah, you hire people that you hire your friends,
Yep.
because that's what you can afford, and all of a sudden it gets to a point to where it's like, whoa, wait a minute, like this you might not be the right person for this. And again, like, bro, the team is so important. And like,
Say
there's
it,
so
man.
much on you
Say it,
already as
brother.
the person that's trying to build the thing and trying to make it happen. Like it literally, like it's like I don't know if you've ever read the Netflix manifesto, right? But like Netflix, when they first started,
Okay.
they had this manifesto and they said, look, when you think about working at Netflix, like we're not a family, we are a team.
Yes.
But more importantly,
Yep.
we are a professional sports team.
Yep.
And so we expect you all to operate like professionals and athletes, but understand if you can't do the job, we will replace you with somebody else that can do the job because that is what a team will. I mean, we're seeing it right now with the
Yes, sir.
Falcons.
Yeah.
Like I love Koo. He went to
Yeah.
Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
But bro, if you can't make the kicks, we need a kicker because we
Yes.
are a professional team and we will go out and get a better kicker
That's
if
right.
that's what's needed. And it's so funny that even the lady that wrote that for Netflix,
Yeah.
at a certain point, she got replaced. Because it was the same thing. They were like, look, you have gone as far as you can go with us
Yeah.
based on your skill sets for the next part, and they would literally tell people, they're like, yeah, you can go on vacation, you can take a limited vacation, but just know that if while you're gone, we realize that we can do this without you,
Yeah.
or we can find somebody better, you might not. And so that's how Netflix. I mean, it was like a very competitive culture, right? But
Yeah.
like that's what it really takes to kind of like build a high performing team, right?
Yep. 100%. I didn't know that came from Netflix.
Yeah.
So you just educated me on something. But I've heard that before, and that is 100% true. We need to know that at the end of the day, you can get the job done, and particularly when it's crunch time, like Koo kicking the field goal. And this is the difference
is the
between
difference.
winning and losing.
Right.
And nobody gets it right all the time, but we need to know that generally speaking, you give him the ball, he got it.
Right.
Because what happens is when you don't lose, you compromise championships, you compromise general success, and you put everybody else at risk. So it's not you can't be overly personal about it because there's a bigger responsibility.
Yeah.
And everybody got to be tied to that. So no, that's I really like that one.
Yeah, man.
A team, not a family. It's true.
It's true. I mean, again, like that's the part of leadership I don't think that people really understand. Like, in order to achieve great things, you have to have a great team around you. And a lot of times, again, with us, like I've noticed it. It's very interesting because I noticed it especially at one of my last agencies, right? Like the guys that started that agency, they were able to start that agency with a certain level of funding. And so they were able to go out and acquire certain talent.
Yeah.
And so that allowed them to kind of go straight out the blocks, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like you look at, okay, but if I'm starting something and I only got the money that's in my bank account,
That's right.
and I can only get this, then I have a different kind of talent. And so you see the difference, and you see how having the right people on the boat. And, you know, it was something that a guy I used to work with was saying, like, when he first said it, it kind of pissed me off. But the more I thought about it, it made sense. He said, his job as a leader was to edit the team. That's what he would call it. Now, because it kind of sounds like an asshole move, I'm not going to lie. But when you think about it, he's like, no, like that's my responsibility, because if this thing doesn't work, it's bigger than me.
That's right.
There are other people here. And all of a sudden, if we lose this client because we don't have the people to actually execute on it, all of y'all out of a job.
That's 100%.
So what's more important, like this one person who's trying to get by, or like making sure the whole totality of the team is on top of it, right? So
That's 100%
you got to find those right people.
And it also does not mean that because we're looking at it like a team, not a family, that it's like cold.
Right.
Or that there is no care or there is no culture. What I've found is that A-plus players, which is what we like. I mean, we got a slogan in our company, A-plus players only. That's all we want to hire. A-plus players can't stand a C-level player.
Right.
And a C-level player can't stand an A-plus player because they always push it. But what you find is you find a lot of cohesion among that like talent level. Like A-plus players, they bond over winning the championship, making things, and C-level players do on whatever that is, mediocrity, whatever you call it. So you still have the same level of culture and cohesion and togetherness, but you gotta be like-minded and you gotta be operating on similar values to achieve that. But it doesn't mean that you're cold and
no,
caring.
absolutely.
And
not.
I think that's what a lot of people get.
Yeah.
You know, kind of get that
Like,
mixed up.
y'all don't understand.
That means y'all don't care. No, we have something bigger to do here.
Y'all don't understand how much we care.
Yeah.
Like that's the thing you gotta. You don't like you don't.
Yeah.
Trust me. If you have many things wrapped up, like I'm sure you. With 50 restaurants and all this stuff, you've got a lot invested in this.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So, like, I don't think people really understand how much you really do care about all this stuff working together, all this stuff coming together. Like, there was a great book I read a couple of years ago called Radical Candor.
Okay.
And so, I always say that's probably one of the best books on leadership that I've ever read. If you haven't read it, check it out. And like, so what it talks about is, it's the idea that like, if you're on a team, you should have the ability to be radically candid with your coworkers. But what does that mean, right? So the example I always kind of give is, you think about in the heat of a sports game. You know, it's a basketball game, right? Steph Curry bringing the ball up the court, and he's trying to get the offense set up, and he tells somebody, "Yo, get your ass over there."
Yeah.
Like that person doesn't stop and say, "Hey, Steph, don't talk to me like that.
That hurt my feelings.
That hurt my feelings." No, like they have built a relationship to where they can be radically candid with each other. And he can just say what he's trying to say, and you don't interpret it. You don't add your own meaning to it. You're like, well, you know what? If I get my ass over there, he's going to give me the ball, and I can score. And there's a bigger play. And so it talks about just being able to have like this just radical conversations with people that you work with. And it's those kind of relationships, right? And so again, it goes back to caring. It's not about being heartless or cold. Look, I've had bosses that are jerks. I've had bosses, and I have no desire to want to be one of those people. But like, again, I have a lot wrapped up in what I have built. You have a lot wrapped up in what you have built, right? And so you want to have the ability to talk to adults like adults.
That's right. That's right. and on top of that, by the way, who wrote that book?
I'm looking.
Okay, I get it. I mean, there's another one. There's a guy by the name of Ray Dalio he's got a similar philosophy around that, which is radical transparency.
Yeah.
But also in that is it eliminates misinterpretation.
Right.
Like when I say get your ass over there, it's hard to confuse what I mean. Was it like, well, could you please take a left behind it? Like, you gotta have people, like everyone has to be aligned to the same vision and the same task and the same strategy. And how you get that across is communicating one way or the other. And so the straighter you can be about it, eliminates misinterpretation, which means that we're more likely to be moving in the same direction. So again, it all goes back to caring about what the bigger objective is so that we're all aligned and taken care of.
Yeah, man, absolutely. So you're running Circa, that's going. Like, how did you start getting into the airport space?
I don't know. I mean, I swear to God, I mean, like this, I was in there just humping, making drinks. I'm on the line. I'm sweeping up. I'm cleaning bathrooms. I'm waiting. I'm doing everything in this business. But what would happen is that, I mean, one, we were literally in that business every day, and which means on a weekly basis, because after a while we were pretty popular. We got to meet thousands of people regularly because we're in there all the time, and we're talking to people all the time. And in meeting those people, we were exposed to some conversations with folks that happen to be in airport concessions, just organically would come to our place, like what we were doing, like the ambiance, like the food, and came to like us, and would just start talking. And a few of those opened up that conversation to us, just like, oh, hey, this is what we do. Have you ever thought about airport concessions?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. But then I started learning about what that is. I was like, wow, this seems pretty compelling. And so we kind of dove into those conversations more intentionally and started to ask about, well, what would be some ways that we could do this together with the people that came and talked to us about it. And anyway, and those conversations led to ultimately doing a deal to get in the restaurant, partnering my company with a larger company. So it really happened organically from working there every day, building relationships, and just being curious. I mean, really just being curious about the conversation that would come your way.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So
I wish I could say I had it all mapped out. I just knew from the beginning we were going to go do this, and I was going to be in all these things. I had no idea.
just for context, like tell us about what are the restaurants like here in Atlanta, Hartsfield, the busiest airport in the world. Like, what are the restaurants that you all own and manage?
So we own and manage. We have a Shake Shack. I'm trying to think on a local level. A Fresh to Order. Auntie Anne's Pretzel. We did something with Bobby Flay in a joint venture, Bobby's Burgers. We have a Freshness Yogurt, which is a local yogurt company. Has about 200 stores. We have a Buffalo Wild Wings under construction now. We have a couple of proprietary brands that we have developed. I'm really excited about. What else do we have? Gosh, we have a Sam Adams Brewery, a Sweetwater 420 Brew House. It's kind of a mix of stuff. The airport will kind of tell you the types of businesses you want or they want, and then you go find the brand. So we kind of range the gamut from burgers to pizza to salads and bowls to fast to full service. And we kind of have a mixed brand portfolio.
Okay, see, I didn't even realize that. So there's different types of restaurants that you all actually own and operate, not just like one type specifically at the airport.
Yeah, because the way the airport does it is, so the airport owns the real estate, the physical. I mean, the city owns the physical airport, and when leases expire, so you lease the spaces. When they expire, the airport will say, okay, these leases are going to expire. We need some new businesses, new brands. We have 10 spaces, and in these 10 spaces, we want a coffee shop, a pizza shop, a burger place, and come bring us your best bid, your best proposal to occupy these spaces. And so you'll go find these mix of businesses, which is why you end up operating a mix of stuff.
Okay, all right. Are you all one of the largest concessionaires at the airport? Or is there?
No, I mean,
really?
Yeah, no, not even close. So, but I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
But so nationally, like 80% of the airport food and beverage or concession space is controlled by like 5 companies. The whole 80-20 rule. These are all multinational, multi-billion-dollar companies from Spain, from Italy, from London. We call them primes, majority-owned firms, that whole deal. They will come in and because they have the resource to take down large swaths of businesses, generally do that. So they own 60+% of the Atlanta airport concessions businesses. Minority businesses like mine tend to make up about 40%. And in that mix, I am, maybe top 5.
Okay.
Maybe, so we've made our way, and it's hard to compete. I mean, it's expensive enough, but we've made our way, continue to grow, and I would like to, I'm looking to be the prime.
Okay.
That's what I'm working on.
Okay. Now, again, what's also interesting when you talk about kind of the portfolio companies you all have, like, especially going from Cafe Circa, which is something that y'all literally built from the ground up.
Yeah.
A lot of these it sounds like franchises and like partnerships, right? Like,
100%.
How do you kind of compare those two approaches, like of a franchise versus like building a concept from scratch?
Yeah, I mean, man, that's a great question. I put it like this. So the SBA says that 65% of new businesses fail within, I want to say it's either 3 or 5 years. It's one or the other. Where 90% of franchise businesses over the same time period succeed.
Okay.
So, so the question, like, how do I look at those two? It is much smarter, much smarter to get a franchise business that has a proven track record of success and just plug and play. They give you the playbook. They give you everything from the menus to the brand designs to the staff kind of structure. Just run the playbook, and they help you with site selection, like where to put a location to ensure success. But you're coming in with all this institutional knowledge and support to help you be successful. When you do it yourself, like we did, because we didn't know better and we didn't think much, we just jumped. Like you're figuring out every piece practically along the way. And I don't know, I mean, I haven't met too many people that the first time out doing anything, like do it well the first time. And that's essentially what you're setting yourself up for. Not that it can't be done. If you got something burning in your heart and your mind, you just got to get out into the world, go for it. But the numbers, like statistically, the numbers are with the folks that get proven businesses and just copy and paste. And if I could do it over, I loved Cafe Circa, man. We had a ball, we had some great people, but I promise you, I would have started with a franchise.
Really?
As a matter of fact, I have a friend of mine that started with a franchise the same time we started with Cafe Circa. And today, I think he's on 40 stores, but all on his own. And he was building a lot faster than I over time and didn't go through bankruptcy like I went. I mean, was very prudent with financial performance and stacking money. I mean, he didn't have the kind of hardships I had. So I would have done it like that.
For somebody that wants to, get involved in the franchise space, like, what would you kind of tell them before they jump into it?
First thing is like, do your homework, but also figure out what your interests are from a business standpoint, because you can franchise any type of business you can imagine. It's people just think restaurants, and that's a big one. I think that's the biggest bucket of franchises. But there's janitorial services, there are financial services, there is home repair services. I mean, like literally anything you can think of, there are franchise businesses for it. So figure out what of those businesses make the most sense for you, for your know-how, for your competency. They all come with different requirements of time that you're gonna have to work. No, but there are some differences there. And so figure out kind of where your best fit is, and then start to learn whatever industry that is. And then within that industry, start to really dissect the different brand options. But it comes back to kind of doing your homework based on your own interests and skill sets.
If somebody wanted to look at a franchises, do you have any resources that you would recommend? I mean, obviously they can just Google and kind of check around, but are there, I know there's, conventions and things at expos and stuff, but like where would you advise people to go to educate themselves more about the franchise opportunities that are out there?
Yeah. So I think the biggest franchise kind of international platform is called IFA, International Franchise Association.
Okay.
They are kind of that central nerve for the franchise industry, from resources and who's doing what and what's propping up. And they have a lot of good data behind that, I would say. There is a conference called NRA, not the National Rifle Association, but the National Restaurant Association. Okay. They do it once a year, and you kind of get all the players in the restaurant business kind of in one room. I mean, it's a big room. I mean, it makes up like 10 or 12 football fields. Yeah. I mean, it's a huge, but what you get to see is like all the different players that are out there, who's winning and losing, what are the emerging kind of trends and technologies. They have really good sessions, really good speakers. So that's another good resource. And then another one I would say, and I'm biased because I'm thinking about food and beverage, but QSR Magazine, where it kind of lists, it'll tell you the fastest growing franchises in the industry. It'll tell you the top performing franchise in the industry. So there are outlets like that where you can start to gather information. And then of course, just with chat and AI, I mean, there's an endless amount of just search you can do to kind of learn where things are moving.
Yeah. And I know you kind of mentioned there's lots of different franchises, and I kind of want to dig into that too. But like from a capital standpoint, I mean, obviously, I know you can speak probably more about the restaurant space than anything else, but like what kind of capital are we talking about for somebody to, again, I know it varies, but like just ballpark wise, like what should people be thinking?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely varies. On the low end, if you're talking like, let's say janitorial services, right, which is probably one of the lower capital intensive, like less expensive business types to get into, you're probably talking between 20 and 50,000, I think, on the high end, and that's the heavy duty cleaning equipment, that kind of thing. It can go up to restaurants, like I think the average McDonald's might be 2 million. But by the same token, Chick-fil-A only requires 10 to 20,000 of your own capital. Now that's a whole other process.
Right.
It's hard. You got to apply for it, and it is very competitive. But even in the different industries, there's a range, all the way up to owning. I mean, I was watching the Netflix docuseries on the Cowboys. I mean, that's a franchise.
Yeah.
But he spent, I don't know, I think he spent like $300 million when he bought it, and that was back in. So it ranges. But I would try to start where you are. Start with the capital that you have and in the industry that makes sense for you. But it can range from the tens of thousands on the low end up to the multi-millions or better, depending on what you want to do.
What have you kind of learned again when it comes to raising money? Because I mean, there's money out there, but like again, people want to invest in winners and things that happen. Like, what have you kind of learned when it comes to like raising money for these ventures?
Yeah, it's hard. First thing is most people ain't gonna want to give you money, especially when you starting out. I mean, so when we started with Cafe Circa, I talked to every bank I knew to talk to around here. Talked to a lot of business owners, but the truth of the matter is we had never, not even run a restaurant, we had never run a business.
Yeah.
Period. So all we had was an idea and no track record outside of corporate America, and this wasn't a corporate endeavor. So smart money's like, that doesn't seem like a bet to place. There's nothing that would suggest that this makes for like a pretty sure return. So no one gave us money. The people that gave us money were the ones that loved us.
Yeah.
It was like friends and family. And so now we had savings. We did the whole credit card cash advance. We like maxed those all the way out. We did all that bootstrapping type of stuff. But you got to be prepared to be very innovative on the front end because people are not going to see you as a sure thing.
Yeah.
What happens over time, if you perform, is that your track record will start to speak for yourself. And capital raising becomes a lot easier, but you got to earn that through performance. And unfortunately, I wish I could say, man, listen, you're starting out, just call this number. They got all the money you want. I promise you, there is no number. When you're starting out, if you don't have it, oftentimes that's why they say friends and family, because they're the ones that do it because they doing it from the heart, not from necessarily the head, which is okay. That's how we got it. But then, over time, it gets easier if you're performing.
Okay. One of the things we were talking about that was interesting, especially when you talk about, just franchises that aren't in the food spaces. You and I were kind of having a conversation off about the Patel family and how they own, like, just tell people like about the Patel family and how they own was like almost 80% of all the motels.
Yeah. So it's the funniest thing because this goes back to like cooperative economics. We were just talking about raising money. I do think there's an opportunity within our community to pool money cooperatively and help fund ourselves. Another conversation that we can talk about. But so the Patel family, the Patels are an ethnic Indian group, like from the country India, Southeast Asians. It's an ethnic group that migrated to Uganda, and they began opening businesses. And under the reign of Idi Amin, who was, a dictator type of leader, he felt that foreigners were getting too much of the business, too much of natural resources, too much of the land. So he kicked the foreigners out of Uganda and reclaimed these, the natural resources and businesses for the country itself. And so this group of Patels, who among the businesses they had in Uganda were hotels, they had to flee the country and they went elsewhere. And what they did was they took their know-how from running businesses and running hotels in Uganda to where they settled, and they all pooled their money and bought hotels like as a cooperative. And they fired all the labor there, and they were the labor. They worked for free in support of the bigger vision of getting this hotel to financially perform. So they lived in the hotel, they worked the hotel, which means that they could compete on price because, well, we're not paying these high labor costs because we're doing it and we're willing to make that sacrifice. So they had a successful model because they could price low, which means it was attractive for people to come and stay in hotels because it was cheaper. They copy and pasted that model. And you guys can trace this back. Don't take my word for it. I mean, this is like history that is studied and documented. And today, that ethnic group, the Patels, we think it's just a last name. It's an ethnic group that now has like 80% of the hotel real estate to this day in this country under their ownership because they built up that capacity, they built up the kind of capital, they built up the understanding, they built up the competitive edge to be really good at that. But and they did so by executing cooperatively as a group. And so, but that's what they did.
What do you think it would take for? Because I mean, again, like we talk about cooperative economics, and I agree with you. There's a lot of money that's even locked up in our communities. Like, what could we start doing as Black people, especially in Atlanta, start working more cooperatively in that space, and maybe start doing a similar play.
Yeah, I mean, and I'll say it's tough. Like our history in this country is tough, and there were efforts made such that we, kind of were divided. Like a house divided will not stand type shit. So we have some natural skepticism. I believe that traces all the way back. But what I think is that, frankly, we just have to get the fuck over it because no one's coming to save anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, as an individual, as a community, you name it, we are our own safety boats. And I think when we realize that, if we, and it can just kind of start where you are, like in your community, in your network of friends, in your neighborhood, in your city, and commit to backing something that has been through rigorous diligence and thought and just kind of flushing out the viability of, but like commit as a group to backing something like the Patels did hotels.
Yeah.
And start kind of where you are, start small and like prove the model, prove success, and then kind of copy and paste. But you got to start with something.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we all come together across all 50 states in one fell swoop. That's hard to coordinate, but just start where you are. You got a group of a dozen people or a couple dozen people that have enough to put something towards like an idea that has been studied and vetted.
Mm-hmm.
Let's try that. Because we've seen it work in other communities. We've seen it work among Asians. We've seen it work among Indians. We've seen it work among the Jewish community. I mean, it is possible. I think we just need to commit and decide and be earnest about it.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I always I always take my daughter when we're riding around. There's some spaces up in Gwinnett, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we go to these plazas, and I always kind of point out to her. We'll pull into a plaza, and I'll say, "Look around. Tell me what you notice." And she'll be like, all the businesses here, all the signs are in Korean.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone. I said, yeah, and then we'll go somewhere else. She's like, okay, all these are Hispanic. I always ask, like, where's the spot where you go in Atlanta where all these are Black owned?
Say it, bro.
Yeah, I will literally take her to places and point that out, and I'll be like, look, see, this. Okay, where in Atlanta is there a plaza that you go to and all the businesses in that plaza are Black owned?
Yeah.
It's not even in our communities.
Yeah. In Atlanta, where if there is no place else in the country there should be or could be, is here.
Yeah.
To your point.
I was talking to Ryan Wilson about this.
Values.
I was talking to Ryan from the Gathering Spot about this same thing. He was like, "Yeah, man, he's like, with all the stuff we do here in Atlanta, all the culture and everything." He said, "When you look out in this city, who owns the dirt?"
Yeah.
And like we don't own a lot. We don't own very much dirt out here.
That's a fact.
And that's the difference. That's where the real wealth and the real community building and all that stuff starts to come in. Like, but even when you think about it too, I know you're involved. Like you're on the board of Fearless Fund, and you were on the board of Invest Atlanta. Like, where do you see the money moving, and do you see resources out here for entrepreneurs to actually go out here and try to find funds to help capitalize things? Because we always talk about how Black businesses are undercapitalized. Like from that perspective, do you see opportunities for people to find some of that funding, or is it still mainly from a cooperative standpoint?
So there are opportunities for small businesses to get funding. There are funding resources that the city puts out and that organizations within the city put out. What I find is that we don't really know about it.
Yeah.
And when we do, I'm thinking about a good friend of mine that has a ton of money and he's funded it out of his pocket. And I would beg him to like look into Invest Atlanta and get some of these capital resources. Because it can just help further propel your growth. And there's like an inherent skepticism oftentimes within our community about, oh, well, they're not going to give it to me, or, I'm not this, or it's worthiness kind of thing. So to the question is, yes, there are opportunities for sure. I think that between just the general knowledge that we don't have about these opportunities, or sometimes the skepticism, we don't often get them. So what I would see when I was on these boards, I'd see the same people getting these checks. And they ain't look like me.
Right.
And they didn't need it as much as I needed. I mean, I'm talking about billion-dollar outfits getting a lot of resources. One, because they're there, and it's not they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
They're there to be had by these folks. But they had that level of like knowledge and wherewithal to know that it's there and to figure out how to get it. And we just weren't. And it'd be the same names. And I'm talking about getting it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just, and so I think as part is like we got to do as best we can educating our community and educating ourselves. Because like I said, ain't nobody coming to save you. But they're out there. And particularly in a city like this, but there's a gap. There's like a knowledge gap. And then like a, I don't know, belief or trust gap.
Yeah, well, it's a process. Like I've again, I'm not to like throw invested land under the bus, but I've definitely reached out to them before, and it is a little overwhelming. It can kind of feel like a little cumbersome sometimes, but that's where you literally got to just like lean in.
Yeah,
you got to build relationships, and I'm the kind of person, well, I'll say, look, walk me through it.
Yeah.
Like I always tell this kind of funny story. I remember I used to have a store in a mall, and I didn't know what I was doing, man. I had my own money. I opened up a store. Like I was just, trying to figure this thing out. And I remember I went to a bank and was like, hey, I'm trying to get a loan. And they were like, yeah, let us see your P&L. I didn't know what a P&L was.
That part.
I didn't even know what a P&L was, bro. And I promise you, that same day, I went to Office Depot or whatever, and I bought me a copy of QuickBooks. I installed it on my laptop, and I said, I don't even know what any of this shit is. Yeah. And so one day, when I used to go home, there was this, I would always pass this accounting firm. Yeah. And it just had a sign out front. And so one day I literally just pulled into the parking lot, knocked on the door. Guy came to the door. I said, hey, man, look, I own a store down here at the mall over here. I just bought QuickBooks. I don't know how to use it. I was like, I will give you $100 if you just show me how to just set this thing up.
Yeah.
And that guy looked at me. It was a white guy too. He said, man, bring your dumb ass in here. And he sat me down. He literally showed me how to set up all my books and stuff. Now I can run a P&L now in my sleep.
Yeah.
But it literally takes, like I said, that education. Like I said, sometimes you have to actually go out there and get the information. And like, you got to do whatever you got to do because, again, this is your business and there's no rules to this business thing, man.
Look, I mean, just you having the good sense and humility to ask, just being like, listen, I don't know what this is. I know I need to know it. Can you show me? Like that makes the difference in a lot of times between, you not being here and you being here. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily in this case. I mean, maybe you've been here, but I mean, it's okay to not know. It's okay. So I mean, that extra step that you took on your own accord, like we got to take more ownership over where we're going. Mm-hmm. Like, again, I always say, ain't no rescue boats, but the ones you make. And so something like that makes a huge difference. I'll tell you, the most costly mistake I've ever made in business came from me not knowing and not asking a question. But like 10 years ago, so I'm trying to raise capital. We've now been in the restaurant business for, what would that have been? 7 years, something like that. 7, 8 years. And banks aren't trying to hear anything we have to say because they're very rigid, conservative. What you talking about? I'll get it. No, y'all are new, not doing it. So we went out to what they call private equity, which is just money left over from rich people. Mm-hmm. And there's this one very prominent, they call it a family office, but it's like the money from a rich family. Yeah. And we were offered money to go and build our company because they saw, the airport space and these guys. And like when you get into a business, you make it perform, it makes money. This office told me that they would give me a $25 million revolver, is what it was, like a $25 million credit card. Mm-hmm. Like you use it as needed, you pay it off, and it will accrue some interest. But the interest is only like 7%, so it wasn't bad. But he was going to give me a $25 million revolver, $25 million like credit card, for 25% of my company. And I had never heard of such a thing. That's private equity. Like they're going to own some of your company. And I thought, well, man, if he puts the money in the business, then maybe I can understand that. But he's giving me a credit card, which means like it's not like my money. Yeah. But so I didn't know. Me and my business partner at the time, we didn't really know what we were looking at. But the idea of taking 25% of my business for money that I don't really get to hold per se, it's like as soon as I put it out, I owe it back. Mm-hmm. I could not wrap my mind around that. This money was going to go to one of two companies. It was either my company or this other company. We didn't know what we were looking at, so we stayed away from it. The other company took it, and less than 5 years later, they were doing $100 million in revenue because they had access to and $25 million when you're starting out. And we were a little bit beyond starting out because now we had several locations, but that is a ton of. I mean, think about the kind of money we're trying to raise to do what we do. And to get it then, if you got the sense to do well with it. So they had the access to capital. Then they had the strategic partner, because anybody that's got that kind of money
knows people,
got relationship, knows people. They can pick up the phone. It's up, like we're on. And then they had like the governance, because private equity is going to insist that things are managed a certain way. Like they're going to be watching how you're doing things and making sure you're not getting too far left or too far right. But it keeps you disciplined about how you operate your business. $100 million later, and like, I'm chasing that still. You know what I mean? Now I'm getting, it's on the horizon.
Yeah.
But I mean, they got me beat. I mean, they accelerated by 6-7 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not knowing better. I mean, like how much that costs, and didn't just like ask the question.
Yeah.
We're just like, oh, y'all, and you want to my company? I mean,
not knowing is expensive,
man.
And I think a lot of people, even when it comes to private equity, right? Like what it is, it's rocket fuel. Like that's all it is. Like, and people talk about raising money. It's like, again, you got to understand, if you take on money, one, they want the money back, but the purpose of that money is to get you to where you're trying to get faster.
That's right.
Right. And so to your point, y'all were both at the same kind of point, right? Yeah. They got some rocket fuel poured in their tank, and they gone. You know what I mean? And like, you moving, but you might have put 87 in there. You know what
right. They had 93 out. Lesson learned, man.
Yeah, lesson learned.
Biggest mistake most costly mistake I ever made, from not knowing, and not having the sense to ask the question to someone that did know.
Yeah. Now again, you've built your own spot. You've built your own restaurant. You've done franchises. Now you're starting to work on concepts that could be franchised, right? Like, tell me about that space.
Yeah, man. So I've been, to your point, now operating franchises for 13 years, meaning like people, the Shake Shacks is already out there, the whole deal. And I've learned from them. Like, I learned why they are successful. It is not coincidence. Like, they do things a certain way. And so I started borrowing these insights and then putting them into ideas that I have. And so the plan for me, and I'll never stop doing what I'm doing in terms of airport concessions and operating restaurants, but the plan is to also be a franchisor, to be the McDonald's or the Shake Shack or the, Domino, whoever. And so I've started developing some quick service concepts. I like quick service. I'm cool. Bars almost kill me. I mean, bankruptcy, everything else, they tend to be trendy. I mean, you think about the biggest restaurant groups on planet Earth, they're all fast food. I mean, number one is like McDonald's. Number two is, I don't know, maybe Domino's, or you name it, Chick-fil-A. I mean, but they're all fast food. It ain't sexy. It ain't complicated either. So anyway, I started building out quick service brands. And we now have 2 open in the airport. It's a pizza place, and they're called kolaches, but it's essentially like a stuffed bread. It competes with Auntie Anne's and Cinnabon, which are both billion-dollar businesses. And we have another one that's kind of an Asian fusion, but think like an elevated panda, with kind of our sauce on it, like black folks like soul. So we're working on those. Really excited about it. Been working on those since COVID. And we plan to activate the first street side one by the end of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of starts to flip again, because again, at a certain point, you're like, all right, like you become, you become the plug at a certain point. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm going to people, but I'm also learning. Wait a minute. So if they doing all this, they the ones really making the money. So let me start to actually kind of like go after the model that same kind of way. Let me be the person that is putting up franchise, and people are coming to me and they're cutting me royalties, and now I'm kind of scaling my business in that way. Yeah,
I mean, you can scale a lot faster. And then, I got to build up. I mean, I'm writing them a royalty. Don't get me wrong, it's good stuff. There's brand recognition, people come to it, but I'm paying for all the stuff. I'm paying to build out the store. I'm paying for the labor, the whole deal. And so I think it would be good sense to get on that side of it. I think we need more representation among our community on that side of it. And I'm trying to build models that are easy for us to get into as well.
Yeah. when it comes to, and I don't want to call them like boring businesses, but again, like I think again we kind of joked about this. Like I think a lot of people in Atlanta start what I kind of call Atlanta businesses.
Yeah.
And they just start a business that'll work based on like their perception of things, and
Yeah.
that's why I tell people you got to get outside of Atlanta, y'all. This is a very unique space, But like, what do you want people to know about quote unquote boring businesses, and just from your experience?
That what's exciting is making money. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
like the sexy business that goes out of business. I promise you that shit is not fun. It's not fun when you on the way to being out of business. Like the cool shit is building something that provides for you and your family and your future.
Mm-hmm.
And if that comes by way of an ugly business, which is often the case, just do that.
Yeah.
Like in what we are trying to catch up to, like as in our community, black people being full participants in our economy, it's got to be about the dollar. I mean, let's just call it what. I mean, that's not all that matters, but I mean, to realize the kind of freedom we want and mobility and
Yeah.
the ability to have this and a voice and access, like we got to do things that enable the accumulation of wealth. Everything else is just everything else to me. It's cool until you got to turn the lights off
Right.
and put the whatever up. So I would say look at things that perform well. Boring businesses are not.
Yeah, man. Look, this has been a great conversation, Randy. You know what I'm saying? You've built a lot of amazing stuff. One thing I would just ask is if you could kind of go back to Randy getting ready to open Cafe Circa and give him some advice. I know that for one part would probably be like, don't do this. Go get a franchise.
You already took it out of my mouth, bro. Don't do it.
What do you want the next kind of group of budding entrepreneurs that are hearing this and saying, you know what, I've never thought about a franchise approach. Like, what do you want them to take away and know from this conversation?
Yeah, like don't do anything because it's cool or because it'll raise, your personal profile or because it's about something other than a sustainable financially performing business.
Yeah.
Which means do homework around what will get there. Don't just think it's an interesting idea because you like it. That can be the starting place of the thought exercise, but make sure that it works with the real world. Because we need us to be performing in this space. So I would say be smart and diligent about what you get into from a financial performance standpoint. And don't do the shit I did, just jumping out there. I almost died. Like, take your time, do your homework, do something smart and thoughtful based on, like, evidence.
Yeah, man. Look, y'all, I'm telling you, y'all listen to Randy. One thing I tell people all the time is experience is the best teacher, but it's the teacher nobody wants. But the only way to learn,
I love that.
the only way to learn is to do it. And you're listening to somebody right now who has done it.
Yeah.
So, again, Randy, man, congratulations on everything. If people want to find you, support you, they want to reach out about, potentially getting involved with one of your business or franchise, like how can they get in contact with you?
So my social handles, it's Randy Hazelton at IG, Randy Hazelton on LinkedIn, just Randy Hazelton.
Yeah.
And we will get in touch. I mean, just reaching out by that. I try to spend time talking to as many entrepreneurs as I can, just because I didn't have the kind of information I wish I'd had then. So just reach out, and we will do our best to get in touch and have a conversation or send some information. But I would say start there.
Okay. For sure, man. Well, look, Randy, man, appreciate you pulling up. This has been a long time coming.
Yeah, man.
Many gems have been dropped in here, so we appreciate you pulling up, man. And with that said, y'all, that's the pod. We out. Peace.